Now, over the last Sundays since Easter, we've been looking at the readings from the letters to the Romans. And we have just ended Romans, and now we are going to begin looking at the letter to the Philippians, Paul's wonderful letter. This is actually my favorite letter of all the Pauline letters. And so let's find out why. So Paul is actually in a Roman prison. We know that because it mentions the Praetorium. Roman prisons were particular because you didn't get room. You got room, but you didn't get board, and you didn't get food, supplies. So you needed the supplies, food, all that kind of thing from outside sources. So the church from Philippi sent provisions, sent money to Paul, and they sent a man named Epaphroditus. And when he went to deliver the money, he almost died on the way. When he got there, he delivered the money and delivered the support for Paul. Paul was very grateful and wanted to acknowledge the gift and wanted to send a letter back to the Philippians. And this is the letter that we have here today. In the letter, he mentions that Epaphroditus, which is the guy that delivered the money, was a fellow soldier, and he's sending him back to them so that they would have much joy and give him great honor. Now, this is a very important piece of the letter. It might not seem so, but this is really the really good, important clue as to what the letter, the purpose, the main purpose of this letter. And so let's take a look at Philippi. Philippi was a city, it was a Greek city in the east. And there were a couple of, when the Romans were starting to put pressure on the east and started to extend their empire over throughout the Greek Empire, there were a couple of battles at Philippi. After the battles, they decided to use Philippi as a way of showing gratitude to their veteran victorious soldiers. Now, the best way to reward a soldier or reward somebody in the ancient world was to give them land. Land gave you political power, it gave you citizenship, it gave you a lot of privileges and opportunities when you had land. Unfortunately, the people in Italy didn't want to give up any of their land to these veteran soldiers. So what the Romans did is they took Philippi from the Greeks, and they gave it. They divided the land up to their soldiers, and they completely transformed the city into a Roman city. So when you went there, everything was in Latin. It would be like going to Europe and going into a little town in France and having everything in English. Having a Burger King and a McDonald's and a Six Flags and all the American stuff there. You say, wow, that's what it was like going to Philippi. Philippi was just, you're going through all these Greek cities, and all of a sudden you're like in mini Rome. In fact, they used to call it mini Rome. One of the things that was really powerful there was honor. That was very, very important to the people of the city. Honor meant that you had privileges, that you had advantages over everybody else. So let me give you an example. I was doing a parish mission in Florida, and my flight was canceled because of a thunderstorm. And so I needed to get back the next day because I had 2 weddings, back-to-back weddings. So I went to the representative of the airline, and I says, look, I'm a priest, and I got to get back. So she says, okay, I'm going to make you a VIP. Now, a VIP means that I get the next flight out. I get the first choice of seats. I get priority over everybody else. So it's so people like that. People like to have an advantage over other people, especially for different circumstances. Well, the people in Philippi were obsessed with honor, to having advantages over everybody else. And this attitude, this mindset kind of filtered into the Philippian church, where people were looking for ways to have advantages over everybody else. So what Paul wanted to do and use this letter was to flip that mentality. That instead of trying to do things for my own personal advantage and my own personal benefits, but rather to make sacrifices for other people's benefits, but rather to put other people before yourself. And he used examples. He used examples like Epaphroditus and in Christ, who suffered and died for us, and he was exalted later on. So we have these examples in the letter of people who they dedicate their lives to other people. And what happens after they do that, they end up getting honors. Like Epaphroditus, he sacrificed his life for the benefit of Paul, but yet he's going to go back to Philippi with great honors and great distinctions. you get citizenship. You get citizenship of heaven, Paul talks about. You have wisdom greater than all the Stoics. All the things that give you advantages over other people in Rome, in this mini Rome, and in the Roman Empire, Christians have if they just change this and shift this mentality. So it's the best way to get honor is really by putting yourself below everybody else and making sacrifices for other people's benefit. And that's the purpose of this letter. This letter is to help us change our mindset to say that, no, it's not about me trying to have advantages, but it's really about me trying to give other people advantages. And by lowering myself, by humbling myself, like Christ did, we'll receive great honors from God. And all of us will share in great honors. So so it's a powerful letter for the unity of the church. And but it's a very important attitude to have in the midst of an opposing attitude where it's me first, and to change that attitude in Paul's churches, which will eventually, hopefully, change the culture of the world when they see the advantages of what happens when you really make sacrifices for other people. So we're going to be looking at this letter as we're going forward. And so if you keep that in mind, keep that main theme in mind as we're reading these parts of the letter throughout, and you'll have a better understanding by context of what the real message of Paul in this beautiful letter. And that is why it's my favorite letter. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you in the next video.